You might have already heard that Asians and Asian Americans are underrepresented and misrepresented in Hollywood. Well, it's true, and it's still going on. As of 2017, large American production companies in Hollywood such as Paramount Pictures and Warner Brothers have either whitewashed, or more importantly, portrayed Asian characters negatively by reinforcing offensive Asian stereotypes. And those negative stereotypes of Asians bleed into people's perceptions of Asian Americans.
Whenever I saw an Asian American man on television, he was inevitably a kung fu master who could kick ass, but he couldn't speak English. Or a computer geek who could figure out algorithms, but couldn't figure out how to get a date. And for myself, I think I really internalized a lot of these images. It wasn't until I got to high school that I really took a hard look at myself and realized that I didn't want to be or have to be that quintessential Asian geek.
This is especially true for Asian American men in film. Asian American men are often portrayed as effeminate or lacking masculinity in mainstream Hollywood films. And just to clarify, this isn't even new either. Americans created racist concepts of immigrating Asians in the early 1900s, which included, but not only, the Asian male character Fu Manchu. He was depicted as a predatory Asian villain in many films during that time period. And to put salt in our wounds, most of these old depictions weren't even played by Asians, but by white actors.
Sakimi by name, interpreter by profession.
And those images of Asians as deviants from American culture were left in many viewers. Over time, some aspects of Asian stereotypes changed, but they were still offensive in their own ways.
On the one hand, it seems like it might be a tongue-in-cheek portrayal of those types of images, but on the other hand, you have to be in on the joke, and my question is, are we all in on the joke, and who's laughing?
What should I have said then?
Yeah, kid, why don't you start with, hi, or hello?
And many popular mainstream film productions have continued to portray the image of Asians and Asian American males as the unemotional, smart, asexual hard workers, or the socially awkward kung fu master foreigner, who was never depicted as great as men of other ethnicities.
This guy is the last samurai. This guy is the last samurai. This guy is the last samurai. Fuck you.
And it's mainly thanks to the model minority myth that productions decide to pick on Asians specifically.
One reason why Asians have not got ahead is because collectively they have been the ones who have been most quiet. And that's one reason why the industry, when it wants to use a minority group as a scapegoat, they know if you do it to the blacks, you get problems. You do it to the Jews, you get problems. You do it to the gooks, you're home free.
These recycled screen stereotypes of Asians are constantly consumed by the general population, that it even affects how people perceive Asian American men in real life.
What are you gonna do about it, Mr. Miyagi, huh?
This process of dehumanization is achieved through the stereotype of foreignness, stripping them of individuality and labeled as different. Another reason why Asians are emasculated is to show how masculated white people are. In other words, you can't show something as great until you compare it with something that's not.
Those types of images are the ones people seem to hold up to say, oh, you know, everybody's on equal ground now. Well, that equal ground requires one party in that exchange to completely forget who they are.
They wouldn't give Asian men strength or character. They made them wimps.
To highlight the masculinity of white males, Asian males have often been portrayed in American films as asexual eunuchs or dangerous hypersexual deviants. So many American films offered Americans alternate images of Asians as safe and feminized, or corrupt and malevolent.
For a hot chick, 10 days in Europe can be the kiss of death, okay? She's gonna have all these suave, sophisticated guys all over her. When she gets back, she may not be available.
In other words, the emasculation of Asians and Asian Americans is a testament to power the hegemonic masculinity ideology in society. Now, it may seem that even though mainstream films are slowly starting to include more diversity on screen, the image of Asian American males will always be plagued with stereotypical perceptions. But there is hope. This is where the Asian American independent cinema comes in. The Asian American independent cinema movement came as a result of the long history of abysmal portrayals and stereotypical renderings of Asians, Asian Americans, and their cultures. Once production equipment became available to the public, Asian American filmmakers began telling their own stories with their own realistic portrayal of Asian American males. It was their way of depicting Asian American masculinity to dispel the easy and inaccurate assessment of asexuality, effeminacy, and homosexuality as emasculation in US industry movies. Nowadays, anyone who challenges racism, class oppression, and sexism is said to have modern masculinity.
You guys think you can party all weekend? Leave the work to the quiet Asian guy in the office?
No, you don't understand.
No, you don't understand. I'm not doing your work for you anymore.
So how are they doing this? These contemporary films are portraying Asian American males as fleshed out characters instead of one-dimensional supporting characters. Some of the most exciting recent work has been independently produced and distributed, often available only in film festivals. But what are they doing specifically that's different from Hollywood depictions of Asians? I think it's the contrast between characters of the same race.
Hey, aren't those the guys that got the shit kicked?
I know.
Too many Hollywood films have shown only one Asian male with offensive stereotypes, which audiences then perceive that everyone of that race is that character.
Yeah, generalization is really critical, and what it means is once you learn a concept, it's the ability to apply that concept whenever and wherever you need to apply it in your daily life, okay? And it's something that happens so automatically in the typically developing population that we don't even really realize that it matters.
But they don't show anyone else of the same race that are different. In other words, they aren't showing any contrast.
This is Han, Virgil's cousin. He's everything Virgil's not.
Asian American males can be aggressive and passive, attractive and unattractive, hardworking and lazy, smart and struggling, and unemotional and emotional. There are films being made that show characters going against stereotypes such as the model minority myth, or taking advantage of it.
Our straight A's were our alibis, our passports to freedom.
And some films show individuals struggling to find their own identity, whether they agree with the expectation of masculinity or go against it. And countering all of the described emasculating stereotypes from popular media comes with a unified goal: to make Asian American men more human and relatable.
I want that feeling. The feeling that comes over a man when he gets exactly what he desires. I need that feeling.
But even new solutions have their own challenges.
Every day, Justin would just quickly feel for something hard inside of the mail. He was feeling for another credit card.
When you don't have a budget, you can actually see like money just bleeding out.
That was director Justin Lin, just starting out with his film Better Luck Tomorrow. The same guy who later directed several popular and high-budgeted Fast and Furious and Star Trek films.
We had a writer's room full of very diverse, open-minded people, thankfully, but we still had to kind of educate them on our very new and niche community. Our voice.
Lots of films by Asian American artists are not backed by large Hollywood industries to keep the project alive, but they are sometimes supported by newly formed community-based media institutions such as Third World Newsreel, Visual Communications, and Asian Cinevision. Some wonderful films depicting Asian American male characters have been shown in independent film festivals, but they have yet to make it into mainstream media. On the other hand, Hollywood is slowly adapting to what the audience wants to see.
You needed the white-hot star power of whoever the fuck this guy is.
With questionable choices. But just because there are creators making the effort for change doesn't mean that consumers should sit back and wait for change to suddenly happen. Everyone can do something to help the progress of not only positive portrayal of Asian males, but also that of everyone else. In the words of Jocelyn Cho in the Harvard Crimson, quote, "In a nation where we are composed of so many different types of people, we should work on being inclusive rather than exclusive," unquote. We deserve to be shown as different people instead of typecasting races and individuals into a locked image.
What I liked about it was that we were in control. Having that kind of power quickly became an addiction.
Film is a powerful medium, in that it shows a series of images containing stories, actions, and characters to audiences all around the world.
These images have a profound, consequence, but they certainly do.
In this case, viewers would create identities from what they see. We'll need more creators with stories and viewers that will come watch their work. This will be a long progress, but I'm sure we'll make it there one day.